here from Hooked on Homemade Happiness. Welcome back to my channel. Today in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to crochet the moss stitch, also known as the linen stitch or granite stitch. I generally call it the moss stitch, but it holds all of those titles. This is one of my favorite stitches, and that's because it's so easy. It's just a simple one row repeat. It's all single crochet and chain stitches. It creates this nice thick fabric that is perfect for so many different projects. It looks wonderful in stripes and variegated yarn. I especially love this stitch when I have hand-dyed yarn because it really shows off the variegation in that beautifully hand-dyed yarn. This is also a great beginner level stitch because it is only single crochet and chain stitches, and you're working those single crochets into the chain spaces. So you're not really working into an actual stitch, just the space, which is much easier to see and find, especially for a beginner crocheter. For this tutorial I will be using worsted weight yarn. That's a category 4 yarn. It's an acrylic yarn. This is Brava from We Crochet, but any worsted weight yarn would work. And an H 5mm crochet hook. You can also do this stitch with any type of yarn, just change your hook size accordingly. So to get started with this stitch, we're going to get our yarn on our hook and we're going to be chaining any even number. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 14 for this stitch tutorial. So there is my even number of stitches, and something to keep in mind with this stitch, so your starting chain will be approximately the width of your project, but this stitch does tighten up quite a bit since it is all single crochet and chain stitches. It will tighten up. So while this is the width of my 14 chains, my finished product will probably be a little bit smaller than this chain width. So keep that in mind for whatever you're making. You may want to add a few chains or just make a gauge swatch ahead of time. Measure out, how many stitches there are per inch, and then follow that guide for the width of whatever project you're making, because this will tighten up quite a bit as you continue. So here is my even number of chains. So for this stitch, the chains count as a single crochet. So I'm going to be starting in the 4th chain from my hook. So here I have my first chain. I always like to crochet into these back bumps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's my 4th stitch. I'm going to insert my hook into that 4th chain from my hook and make a single crochet. So those first 3 chains count as my first single crochet and my skipped stitch. So this here counts as 1 single crochet. So I have my first chain counts as 1 single crochet, and here's my 2nd single crochet. So now I'm going to chain 1. I will skip 1 chain and single crochet in the next. Now I have 3 single crochet and 2 chain spaces. Chain 1, I'm going to skip 1 chain and single crochet in the next. And I'm going to continue that across my chain. Chain 1, skip 1 chain, single crochet in the next. Chain 1, skip 1 chain, single crochet in the next. Try that again. And then here I'm to the last 2 chains. So I'm going to skip 1 and I will single crochet in the last chain. So chain 1, skip the next, and single crochet in the next. So here you have row 1 of the moss stitch, also known as a linen or granite stitch. So we have single crochets and chain spaces. Now in row 2, we're going to be only working in the chain spaces across. So to turn, I'm going to chain 2 and turn. And my first chain here counts as a single crochet, and my second chain counts as my first chain 1. So I'm going to be working in these chain spaces across. So I'm going to skip the first single crochet here, and I'm going to work into this chain space. So I'm going to insert my hook into that chain space and work my single crochet. So I'll pull up a loop and then yarn over and pull through 2. Chain 1. I'm going to insert my hook here into that space and work a single crochet. Chain 1, skip the single crochet, work a single crochet in the chain 1 space. I'm going to repeat this across my row. So again, chain 1, and then single crochet in the chain space. Chain 1, single crochet in the chain space. So this is my last chain 1 space, and now I'm to the turning chain from row 1, and this is where my last stitch is going to be. So I will chain 1, I'm going to insert my hook in this chain space from the turning chain from row 1, insert my hook there, and work a single crochet. And there you have row 2. And now for the rest of the pattern, it's just going to be a repeat of row 2, where you chain 2 and then single crochet in each of your chain 1 spaces across. So let's do row 3. It's a repeat of row 2. So chain 2, turn. So that chain 2 counts as my first single crochet and chain 1. So I will skip this first single crochet here and work in this chain 1 space. So here's my chain 1 space and single crochet in that chain 1 space. Chain 1 and skip the single crochet, insert your hook into the chain 1 space and single crochet. Chain 1, skip the single crochet in the next chain 1 space. And we will repeat that all the way across. Chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain 1 space. So here's my last chain 1 space. So I single crocheted in that last chain 1 space. Now I will chain 1, and here's my turning chain from the previous row, and that is where I will insert my last single crochet. And that is the end of row 3. So we can do one more repeat of this row. So we're just going to continue repeating row 2. So the repeat will be chain 2, turn, single crochet in the first chain 1 space right here, chain 1, skip the single crochet in the chain 1 space. And we will repeat that all the way across our row. Chain 1, skip the next single crochet in the chain space. There's my last chain 1 space. So I will do one more chain 1 and then single crochet in my turning chain. And that is it for the granite or moss or linen stitch, whatever you like to call it. I generally call it the moss stitch. That is it for the moss stitch. You will just continue to repeat row 2 until your project is the length you are looking for. Here I have repeated that row 2 a couple more times to get a little square so you could see the detail of this stitch pattern. It's very easy. I love using this stitch pattern. You can do so many things with it: blankets, sweaters, scarves. It's such a great pattern. It especially looks great with striping yarn or variegated yarn. Hand-dyed yarn is perfect for this stitch. You can see how it did tighten up quite a bit as we went along, and it will, now I think it's gotten its shape. After a few rows it will have gotten its size, and you can kind of see the width of your project. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and you can find lots of ways to use the moss stitch. We will see you next time.